So I'm Ashley. I'm the engagement coordinator here at Student Living, and I've got Jess on the line as well. She is the general manager here at Student Living. There you are. Jess, you've got it in presenter view if you want to change it. It doesn't matter. But we're here today to talk about the process for returning applicants living on campus. And I would first like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians and land of the land on which we gather. We're here on the Pembalong clan of the Awabakal people. And I would like to extend my respects to elders past and present and anyone who's joining us online, wherever you may be joining us from. So I know that we have some changes in the contract terms for 2026, given the new academic calendar change. So we thought we'd give returning applicants the opportunity to ask any questions that they might have. I have got a Q&A box down the bottom, so I'm happy if you guys start populating some questions in there and we'll get to them at the end, but we thought we'd run through some of the key pieces of information for you first, and then we can answer any questions that you may have. So as you can see on the screen there, we've got 3 different types of living environments. The change has only been a name change. So what was previously known as lifestyle is now known as quiet living. We still obviously have our single gender and we have our general living environments here. So obviously you would have gone through the application process to move on this year, and you will select that when prompted through the application process. That is a map currently of where the different living environments will be located for 2026. So obviously there's certain pockets of the quiet living areas across the precinct, and then also some gendered areas as well, with the majority of it still being general focused. Now, on to the contract terms. So this is where we'll see quite a few changes to last year. What would have previously been long stay, standard stay, and our single semester. Given that there has been a change in the academic calendar for 2026, our contract terms have had to be updated to reflect those changes. So Jess, I might defer to you to run through these contract terms if that's possible.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we have a long stay contract term, which will be from the 22nd of January as a return and move-in date through to the end of November. So this is roughly moving in about a week before classes start. So it's a lot shorter time frame than what you guys would have experienced this year. We then have standard stay, which is essentially living on campus for semester 1 and semester 2. But during that mid-year session period, you're not living on campus, but you still have your room. So what that might mean in reality is that in middle of May, you tidy up your room, leave all your belongings there and just take what you need. You return your key and then you come and pick it up again end of July, beginning of August, and you move back into your same room for the duration of semester 2, and then you're moving out that same date as a long stay contract ends. The benefit to this is that you will be paying 50% of the room fees for that mid-year session period. And the reason that we are charging people, even though it is half price, but it's reflective of the fact that we won't be able to reallocate your room during that period. So it's your room for the year. You can leave all your belongings in it, you lock it up, and it's yours to return back to in semester 2 without having to apply again, go through the allocation process. So it's a bit of peace of mind that you still have somewhere to live in semester 2. It's your same room with potentially your same housemates, and you can go away and do whatever it is that you would like to do during the mid-year session, traveling, placement, working, going home, whatever that might be. And our third option is single semester. So that's popular amongst our visiting international student cohort, but sometimes we do get domestic students as well that prefer just a single semester. How's that, Ash?
That was great, thank you. And obviously, in line with the new academic calendar, you'll notice that the move-in dates are significantly earlier than they have been previously. So we would typically be looking at that sort of first weekend in February, and it has had to, we've moved that earlier to align with the welcome week for the university, which, with my calendar here, that might be an old one. But classes will start on the 27th of January. So obviously we need to have you guys moved in prior to that. And as you can see down the bottom, it says not all room types or locations will be available across the different contract terms. And so what we've done on the next slide is a bit of a breakdown of what contract terms are available across each of the residences, and then the different living environments. So we might just pause here so you can take it all in. Happy for you to screenshot that. It's also available on the website. And you would have received it in the email communicate. There's a link to it for it in the email communications that I sent earlier today. But as you can see, there are some residences with only this. So for example, Baraheenaben will only have single semesters moving in, and the long stay option is not available there or in Edwards Hall main hall. So I'm gonna hold that there for a second. And move to, we might leave that up there, Jess, if that's okay, but this was a very short presentation, so it gives the opportunity for you guys to ask all of your questions. So the next part will be answering them. So if you want to pop your questions in the Q&A box, I've got a couple already in there. So one of them is, if you are going for RM, which would we have to choose since the interviews are after? So select we would recommend selecting the contract type for where you wish to live, and then student living will work with you when it comes to allocating rooms for those that are successful in the RM process. So Paul, I can see that you've popped your hand up. I don't think we have the option for you to unmute and ask your question live, but if you wanted to pop it in the chat, I can definitely answer that one. Is it a must to move out during the mid-year session hold for standard stay? So, Jess?
Yep. So essentially, yes. And a large reason for that, well, there's a few fairly significant reasons, I guess. So you'll see on this form here that the standard stay mid-year session hold is predominantly all across campus. The long stay, however, is centered around the towers, and there's a small allocation in the old residences as well. So what we've had to do this year because of the change in calendar is a lot of our planned and preventative maintenance for the towers will happen in December. So that means that everyone moves out on the final day of their contract. We won't be able to facilitate any extensions, and we start the day after move out day in all the towers, making sure that we go through and do all the planned and preventative maintenance in December so that come January, the towers are ready to go. What that means for the other residences where long stay is not available is that come mid-year session, we'll do the planned and preventative maintenance across those buildings at that mid-year session time. So I know that that's quite confusing. It's I've got a good understanding of it, but I appreciate that that's in my head. So you may have other questions and really encourage you to pop them in the chat. But essentially, if you opt for a standard stay contract and your plans for mid-year session change and you want to stay living on campus, then depending on where you are, we may need to we may need to facilitate a room move for you. So what that might look like, so if you're in main hall, Ted's main hall, on a standard stay contract, and then you decide in April that actually you're not going to go on placement anymore at that time, and you want to stay living on campus throughout mid-year session, then you will need to move rooms to a residence that has the long stay capability. And that's so that you're not left in a residence that may not have power or water or something like that for an extended period of time whilst we're doing that planned and preventative maintenance. And also so that you're not in there on your own for, you know, a prolonged period of time, because that's not safe either.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I'll answer another question that's sort of in line with that. If I have placement in Newcastle during the winter break, is there any chance of having access to my room? So I'm going to assume that that person was wanting to have the standard stay with the mid-year session hold. But to answer that one, just confirming, no, you would essentially lock your room, lock your belongings, hand your key back. So there's no sort of accommodating
The odd
one night
night
here.
stay, no.
Yeah. Obviously due to some of the reasons that you have just provided then.
Absolutely. And it might, so say, I don't know, a week into the mid-year session, you decide that you forgot something that you really need from your room. You can come back, obviously, and we'll facilitate that like we do a lockout. So we'll take you, we'll unlock your room for you. You can grab what you need, and then we'll hold on to the key again. And that's really a safety mechanism for you and your space. We have to make sure that they're locked down. We have to make sure that your belongings are safe. And we can't leave the keys with you because we need to know who's on site at any one time.
Yep, absolutely. So I've got another question here, and it might have been covered in the email that was sent out, but talking about accidentally missing a payment for the amenities fee, and will that affect being able to apply next Wednesday? So we just want to make sure everyone's accounts are up to date. So jump onto the portal and make sure that you have all your room fees paid, because there will be holds placed on anyone that has fees owing, and that might impact you being able to submit your application on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that, I don't know if by amenities fee they mean our community levy or if it's
It might
the
have been the
SAF.
university.
Yeah, if it's a university payment that you're behind on, I suggest that you reach out to the Ask UON team and ask that question, because generally speaking, if you owe us money, you owe the university money, and if you owe the university money, then that can also come back to your student living account as well. So I would just double, triple check through the Ask UON channels to make sure that your account is all squared up.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of questions around being a residential mentor. If you've already received a 2026 RM position, do you still have to do an application? Absolutely, yes. You will need to submit an application through the portal on the Wednesday. So yes, you will. And then additionally, if you're successful in being an RM, would we need to be on a long stay contract, or would we be able to do the standard stay with the mid-year break? I'd have to just double check where what the plan is for the recruitment, because I know we would need residential mentor coverage in the residences that are for long stay and standard stay. So we might have to come back. Whoever has sent that, if you wanted to flick an email to Student Living Support, we can follow that one up and just make sure we're giving you the correct information. Let's just keep looking. That one's done. Do returners and new residents move in on the same day? No. So new residents will move in a few days prior on the 17th of January, and then returning residents will move in on the 22nd.
Which is not dissimilar to what we've done previously, and that's just to give new residents a couple of extra days to get to know their surroundings before the returners join them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So another question around the different contract options. What if I wanted to switch from a long stay to a standard stay contract? Jess, are you able to speak to that one?
Yeah, so that's completely doable as well. We do a lot of contract switches during the year, even now, and we're anticipating that we will be again next year, as we all sort of get our heads around what this looks like. But all it would mean is that if you might have to move rooms. I'm trying to think. No, you probably wouldn't actually if you went from long stay to standard stay. Um, so I'd imagine, yeah, no, I don't think you would need to move rooms. So we can absolutely facilitate a contract change
Mhm.
in the same way that we would now when people email us and say, oh, I've just got a semester 1 contract, but I want to extend it for semester 2 as well. Then we make those changes.
Mhm. I've got some questions coming in about summer stay. So we will be running summer stay this year, and there will be locations both at Evatt House, I believe. Just give me a nod,
Yep.
and at our at the Nihon campus, so Nihon University Newcastle campus, which is in the Newcastle CBD. We are currently finalising the information for the application process for that. And we'll pop that one online, and I'll share it out through the social channels as well. So there'll be an application guide with details on how to apply for that in the next week or so, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
If moving out on the in the mid holiday is mandatory, do you hand your key back in on the 18th of May and cannot get it back to the 31st, or are these flexible? We hand it in on the 22nd of May and pick it up on the 28th of July. So no, I think we've covered that. You will hand back your key. And then, yeah, as just mentioned, you could access your room if you needed to get something, but you won't be staying in that inside that time period.
Yeah, you could essentially you could return your key earlier and pick it up
Yeah.
later if you chose. You just can't drop it off later and pick it up earlier because of that planned and preventative maintenance and security and safety living on campus as well.
Yeah. Could we nominate a housemate when applying for the two-share apartment in the towers? Yes, so there is a nomination process. There's more information about that in the application guide, which you'll find on the website. So you can absolutely nominate housemates, you can nominate roommates. If I sign up for long stay but want to cancel and move out mid-year, what will the cancellation of the contract fee be? So again, there is some information on your termination charges, but it's a minimum of 21 days notice. And there'll be some administrative fees charged and associated with that. Is that right, Jess?
Yeah, so there's more information that will come out in the return application guide. But essentially it's a sliding scale. So the longer between the date that you want to leave and the end of your contract period, the more you'll pay in an administration fee, if that makes sense. But yeah, I encourage you to read the information, ask the questions. It is slightly different again to what we've had in place this year. But you can absolutely terminate at any time throughout the year. The process or the penalty might just change.
No worries. So I've got a question here about Blue Gum House. How will the room move opportunity be made available to Blue Gum during the
Yeah.
mid-year session, since there is much less accommodation down here? Jess, are you able to answer that one?
Yeah, so Blue Gum House is only available for standard stay. So everybody at Blue Gum will be there for semester 1 and semester 2. No one will live on campus during that mid-year session period. If we have people that are on the standard stay and decide at some point that they would like to go to long stay and stay somewhere for that mid-year session period, then we would facilitate a room move to Callaghan.
No worries. If I'm open to all possible living environments and any contract term, is there a particular combination that might improve my chance of getting an offer? Um, I don't think we can suggest a combination, but absolutely having any offer down as one of your preferences is highly recommended, along with getting in as early as you possibly can with your application.
Yeah, that's right, Ash. And I think it's just, if you're looking here, you'll see that general living environment is across a more broader scope of residences.
Mhm.
So that'll be the first question that you're asked when you apply, is the living environment. So if you selected general, and then it will ask you for your preferences of what residence and things like that. But 100%, if you have any offer, that makes it infinitely easier for, and if you apply early, of course, infinitely easier for us to make you an offer, because we have so much more option to choose from for you.
Yeah, and I think off the back of that, someone's asked, they have class next Wednesday at 10 a.m. If you're not online, will that affect your chances of getting accommodation? We do just recommend that you get in as soon as possible. So if it is possible during that class to have a tab open so you can put your application in,
Just don't
um,
tell you,
yeah,
don't tell
we
your
would
lecturer.
suggest, yeah, that you do so. Okay, we've still got quite a few questions here. There's
Mhm.
one about when do we find out about RM positions? That's not really a contract application occupancy admissions question, but you can absolutely email student living support to get some more information on that one. I'm on a long stay contract this year, so the contract ends in December. Is there any changes to this, knowing that I am living in a tower? I don't believe so, Jess. There's no changes to the contracts for 2025.
No, not at all. So if you're on a long stay and you need to stay till the end of the long stay period 2025, then obviously we're not going to ask you to leave any earlier. Um, we've factored that in to the maintenance planning.
Someone has asked if they go on summer stay into January 2026, will they be able to transfer their apartment to the long stay or the standard stay? No, so you'll have to submit an application um, to continue on into the 2026 contract term. So you'll need to apply for and receive an offer for 2026, whatever that contract looks like for you. It's not just an extension of your summer stay contract.
No, and I think so. Just to be clear on that one, if you're living here now on a 2025 contract, summer stay this year is an extension of your 2025 contract.
Mhm.
So you absolutely have to apply for 2026, and then come summer stay 2026, that's an extension of your 2026 contract.
Yeah. There's a question about last year we had an issue with processing application fees. What should we do in the case that this occurs again? I believe we've had lots of troubleshooting to rectify that issue, Jess.
Yeah, look, essentially, pretty much every year for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a system related issue on return application opening days. The the problem is that it's never the same issue. So we have done so much troubleshooting and planning, and we pay a lot more money for you know larger access and all of that sort of stuff. So if it happens, please don't panic, because what we use, which is the same as what we did this year, we use the date that you clicked over into a certain part of the application process.
The time that you
Yeah,
clicked over. Yep.
yeah. So say you go in at 10:02 and you get to a certain point in the process at 10:03 and then it crashes, we we can track that 10:03, and we do, and we did it all this year. So we had to go back through all the returner applications and reassign the completion
Completion time.
times to
Yep.
match.
Yep. But yes, we've
It's
notified
technology,
yeah,
unfortunately.
in terms of the portal, we've put in place all of the measures to allow for the access into the portal. And then from the payment perspective as well, working with the university payment platform. So they're aware that there might be quite a few repetitive payments for the application fees, which might have been part of the issue last year. Someone would like to know if there's a place that you can put your stuff or luggage in the school year for this year if I'm staying in school for this year. I'm
wondering if it's
that means
storage.
storage. So we don't offer any kind of storage here at Student Living. It would have to be an external provider, like a Storage
Correct.
King, unfortunately. Will terminating my contract this year have any effect on applying for my returning contract next year?
Nope.
Nope. No, it won't. That would only impact if you wanted to do the summer stay, but it sounds like you don't want to, so that's not a problem at all. Even if you terminate and move off, but would like to move back on next year, absolutely go ahead in applying.
The only caveat to that, Ash, sorry, is if you have an account hold for any
yes.
reason. So in a small number of cases across our student living community, people might have finance holds placed on their accounts, or they may have conduct related holds, which means that when it comes to, and you'd be aware of this you'll be aware of it before next week, if not already, but it's essentially you won't be able to see the ability to apply for accommodation next year because you have that hold on. But that's a very small number of cases.
Yeah. So I've got quite a few questions in here about rent prices and room fees and what they will be for next year. Is there an indication of when the pricing will be coming out?
Yeah, great question. Essentially, our pricing, the way that we land on prices is an external company comes in, does a review of our facilities and our services and all of the things, puts together recommendations that then goes to our finance team, who work through a percentage based on market value. Then that goes through the executive leadership of the university and up to University Council, just to make sure that there's really clear oversight on our fees and charges. So that's in process at the moment. What I would suggest is that you consider 2025 prices and a CPI increase, which is around 2.4, 2.5%. So whatever you're paying now, it'll be very similar with just that kind of standard inflation increase. But we're really working hard to have the room fees and charges available prior to expecting anybody to accept an offer.
Thanks, Jess. I've got a question about, can you nominate a friend to live with for summer stay or only during the normal contract dates? I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So I think if for summer stay, say there's an option, as Ash alluded to before, there's Evatt or Nihon campus in the city. If you both chose Nihon and you both sent us an email to say, I would like to live with my friend Bob, then we would do our absolute best to place you together. It's just that the number of opportunities available to us to facilitate that are reduced in summer stay because it's a lower quantity of rooms.
Yeah. I just wanted to if I want to go in a 4-person share and I put in alongside myself and 2 others, what is the likelihood of all us getting together? So if I'm correct in understanding that, you can only nominate 1 person to live with, and you both have to nominate each other. So it would only be that you 2 would nominate, that 2 people would nominate and to live with each other, and that would be considered, and that might be separate to the other 2 people nominating to live with each other. So
the worst, sorry, Ash, it's
no,
the worst thing you can do is nominate twice for 2 different people, because that really puts a spanner in the works for us, I guess. So you'll go through the application process. So say you've got 3 friends and the 4 of you want to live in International House. What you'll have to decide is that you're all choosing the same living environment. You've all chosen International House, and that you all choose the same contract term. Once we've done all of that and you've received your offers, if only 2 of you have received an offer and accepted your offer, then you can put forward your housemate requests, because we can't facilitate it until we have accepted offers for the same place. And then both you and your friend need to nominate each other. So it needs to be mutual. It can't just be me saying, oh, I really want to live with Ash. We can't do that.
And so I guess that answers another one of the questions there of nominating, why we're not nominating when we're applying, because obviously people haven't received an offer and haven't accepted an offer. So yeah, you'll nominate after both of you receive the same offer. Do we get the deposit back we put down for accommodation last year? I believe there's a rollover process in terms of the deposit, Jess. So
yeah, so only if you were planning on leaving this year would you get your deposit back, if that makes sense. Otherwise, if you want to apply again for a 3rd or 4th year to live on campus, it will once again get rolled over.
So there's a question about the issue with the portal and applications opening day. As we've mentioned, we've put all of the troubleshooting and resourcing into ensuring that doesn't happen. So stay with us. If I'm completing my studies at the end of May, but semester 1 contract ends early May, is there a possibility to extend an extra month? I'm going to assume that
So
person.
repeat that for me again.
If I'm completing my studies in the end of May, but semester 1 contract ends early May, is there a possibility to extend an extra month? I'm assuming that might mean that they've selected a single semester, potentially.
So my understanding is next year, from an academic teaching and learning perspective, trimesters are aligned. So I don't think, in theory, any teaching and learning would happen outside the semester dates that we have here, unless you were enrolled in a mid-year session teaching and learning opportunity. Does that make sense? So I don't, and I'd be really keen to understand if I've got that wrong. But essentially, I think semester 1 and semester 2 align with trimester 1 and 3.
And I suppose this would be an okay opportunity to say that we obviously have the short-term accommodation option at Nihon throughout the year. So that could potentially be an option for someone if that is outside of that study and the academic learning periods.
Correct. And that's what we would say to people this year, for example, Ash, if they were saying, oh, the current contract ends at the end of end of November, but I want to move out. I want to move out in, I don't know, the 5th or 10th of December. Then unfortunately we can't facilitate that here. You would need to consider going to somewhere like Nihon for that short stay period.
And there's information about the Nihon University Newcastle campus on the website. So it is under the Our Residences page. It's just built to be a bit shorter term accommodation. It's in the old courthouse for anyone who's aware of that location, right next to the police station near Newcastle Beach. So really great location for that summer period as well. It just has, the setup isn't for longer term sort of stays. When will we receive offers for 2026? Returning offers will commence from Monday, September the 8th. So obviously we don't hit a big red button and everyone receives their offer at once. There's a team of
I
just
wish we
a
could.
handful of people, not even that, a few
Mhm.
people that work to allocate and send out offers. So yeah, it will be if you haven't received an offer on the 8th, don't panic. It will take us a few days, a week, potentially even to get through the offer process. So yeah, just as a guide. And then you'll receive information about when your acceptance is due, but it will be, I believe, a couple of weeks after that.
Mhm.
Is the rent the same next year? I think we've covered that answer. Um, do our fees, including community levy, etc., roll over, or do we pay them again next year? So, as we've mentioned, if you're a current resident, your deposit will roll over, but the community levy is an annual fee that will be charged again for the following year. So that
Through
one,
the acceptance process, yeah.
yep. What does the standard stay say leave? Sorry, what does the standard stay leave room May, July? What does that mean? Oh, sorry, joined a little bit late. So it's called the mid-year session hold. So the standard stay, you will have your room from, and Jess, could we maybe go back to the contract terms slide, the one before, the grey one?
Yeah, I'm trying.
While Jess gets that
There
up,
we go.
thank you. So you'll move in on the 22nd of January and you'll go through until the 18th of May. During that period, you will hand back your keys, lock your room, all your belongings, everything in it. If you need to go on placement, you need to do whatever you need to do in that mid-year session. You will pay 50% of the room fees during that window. Obviously, we can't move someone else into your room because you're essentially leaving all your belongings there, but it's guaranteeing that they will then come the 31st of July be able to move back into your room and have all your belongings in there.
Correct. And
So
I think, sorry, I mentioned it before, Ash, but just like, why would anyone be interested in the standard stay contract term? There's a few reasons. We're anticipating that a lot of our residents will want to go home. They'll want to go traveling. They might have placement, whatever it is. You can do that freely, knowing that you have reassurance of a place to stay in semester 2. If you're on a single semester stay, say you live in a 6 share in the Towers, you might have 2 people on long stay, 2 people on single semester, and 2 people on a standard stay. What that means practically is that the 2 people on a long stay and the 2 people on a standard stay have the same 4 rooms, or the same room allocated to the 4 of them, the full year. If there's people on the 2 that are on a single semester, those people will change. So you'll have person A and B for semester 1, then you might have person C and D for the mid-year session who are coming here just to do a 6-week course. Then you might have another 2 people again for semester 2.
mhm. Sorry, I was just typing out a response to another question. Can you nominate a returner to live with a new resident? Or can you nominate to a new resident as a returner? Oh, that's a good question. I would assume
Can you what,
so.
sorry?
So can you, as a returning resident, nominate to live with a new resident? I believe that yes,
Yeah,
you would. The application processes just would run differently. So they just at different
one will
times.
move in earlier than the other.
Yep.
But the same rules apply in terms of which residents you're applying for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, was it said that the standard stay was half the price of the long stay? No, so it's the mid-year session hold. So that's your room fees will be at 50% of your normal room fees.
Mhm.
Okay, since regional students get priority for offers, what is considered regional for returning students given their address is currently on campus? Also, is Sydney considered regional to the University of Newcastle given that it is more than 2 hours from the campus to Sydney? So it's not necessarily a priority process. Is it just, it's that we have an exclusion zone of postcodes that are within 50 kilometres of the University of Newcastle campus.
Correct.
Um, so yeah, it's not necessarily that there is a priority for people who live further away than another
Not
person.
once, not once you hit that 50K mark.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you live between, say, Callaghan campus and 50 kilometers away, you're considered local. So you can still apply, but it just means that your application would be reviewed after everyone that lives outside of the 50 kilometers.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter if you're 100 kilometers or 700 kilometers, you're still considered out of area.
yeah. And I suppose that person might be questioning because their address technically at the moment is here. So it would go off your home postal address or your home address
Mhm.
rather than living here on campus.
Correct.
A question again about the room fee increase. Last year it was an 8% increase in room fee. Is this expected or will it be in the vicinity of the 2 to 3% as you've stated before? We're just waiting on those valuations in the process, but we're aiming to have the room fees finalized as soon as possible. So we can get them online, and B, it will be for your acceptance process as well.
Correct.
So another question, if I had my first year on campus this year and I'm planning to stay for 2026, I wouldn't have to pay a new deposit. No, the room deposit would just roll over for the next contract term.
Just the community levy.
Yeah, would need to be
And
paid.
also, yeah, if there's any change in the room type, so say for example, you're going from a 10 share in Everett to a 1 bed in a tower, the room fees associated, there's quite a difference. So you might need to top up your deposit. But
Mhm.
if you're going like for like or very similar, then it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. And I think that answers another question about the 2024 room deposit was refunded, but because the system did not pick up on it, I had to make a top-up payment. So yeah, there may be a top-up payment required, even if it does roll over.
Mhm.
If I terminate my contract early, will my room fees in advance cover the last 2 weeks before I leave campus? I guess that depends on how early you terminate your contract. So if it's the 21 days notice, it would just the 2 weeks would obviously cover a portion of that, depending on where we are in the direct debit cycle.
Mhm.
But
And
when
then
you,
take the remainder from
yep, the
the
advance.
deposit. Yeah.
But obviously, when you submit a termination contract, our beautiful team will provide you all that information. They'll give you an account summary to show you what's your deposit, what's your room fees in advance, and where you sort of are either owing or will receive a credit, where you'll receive a credit. When would be the last date to receive an offer for next year? Once we go through the offer rounds, I'm just looking at the date. So we have different rounds of offers. So round one obviously commences on that September 8th that I have mentioned, but there'll be further rounds of offers as people accept or decline their contract. Their offers. And then we would move to a rolling offer process. So there's not necessarily an exact date that we can provide where you won't receive an offer, but we will absolutely send you lots of communications about where we're up to in the application process. So you'll receive communications if and when you receive an offer. You'll receive information about if you're on the wait list. We'll provide you updates on the wait list. So absolutely keep checking your emails over this next few months period, because we will be sending out email communications so you're as informed as you can be. I'd like to just ask a question specifically to Two Shared. Most of us who choose Two Share possibly already have a friend in mind that we want to live with, just to concern if both of us get an offer in a different location and we will not be able to nominate each other. So I think that comes down to making sure you guys have your what am I trying to your room preferences, sorry. Having the same room preferences, and that will obviously give you the most opportunity for you to then nominate each other once you receive that offer. In terms of the Two Share, there is not a whole lot of inventory across the precinct of that option. So it is one of the harder ones to receive in terms of an offer, as opposed to a general 6 share or a 10 share. The questions keep rolling in. If I apply for the summer stay, what are the charges incurred? Is the bond being retained for the summer stay and for the 2026 long stay?
Yeah, there's no additional bond payable for summer stay because again, it's an extension of your 2025 contract. So the bond just carries on through.
Yep.
And if you just did summer stay and then left in January, just decided you wanted to move off campus, then when you ended that contract term, you would get your deposit back.
And then just a couple more questions around the room fees. So will the room fees, updated room fees be available before the 3rd of September before they apply? Jess, I don't believe we've got to the point in the process where we're comfortable sharing room fees, or we're aware of the room fees for next Wednesday. Is it likely that they will be ready for when people have to accept their offers?
So yes, absolutely. That's we're working towards that the room fees are confirmed when offer and acceptance, when the acceptance process is due.
Mhm.
So you might receive an offer on the 8th of September, but it won't be due to be paid for another 2 weeks. So we're making sure, we're working really hard to make sure that room fees, we don't expect anyone to accept an offer that isn't aware
Of what the
what the room fee, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So if we need to adjust our processes to accommodate that, then we will. But my very strong informed recommendation is that you consider 2025 with a CPI of around 2.4% increase.
Okay, thank you. And obviously, as soon as we have those, we'll likely send out comms, communicate like email communications to let you know. But keep checking the website as well because it will be published on the website. Why is it not possible to nominate a housemate when applying if both of us are applying for the exact same place? So again, we would not, I mean, there isn't, sorry, let me just gather myself. It's just when you're accepting the offer, both of you. So both of you need to receive the same offer because one of you might receive a different offer. So there's no point
Again,
essentially
it
in
comes
looking
down,
at the nomination if one of you doesn't receive the same offer.
correct. And I think if we look at it practically, Ash, if you were to apply on Monday for IH long stay and I applied on a Wednesday for IH long stay, you've got a much better opportunity to get an offer than I do because I applied so much later. Also, your second, our second, third, and fourth preferences might be completely different. So if we can make you an offer in IH in your first preference because you applied early, we might, when it comes to making me an offer, it might be my third or fourth preference, which is in a completely different residence. So that's why we need to wait until we go through the offer and acceptance process before people submit housemate requests.
Yeah. And I'm conscious that we've only got a few minutes left of this webinar. And there are a couple of questions around summer stay. Is there an application fee for summer stay? No, because it's an extension of your 2025 contract. And when can you start applying for summer stay? I think I wrote it in the email, but summer stay applications open on Wednesday, the 15th of October at 10 a.m. I'll write that in there as well. Do returner applicants have priority over new applicant applications? Jess?
Do who, sorry?
Do returning applicants
Have priority
priority
over
over
new.
new applicants?
So we work to, and this information is all available on the website, but we essentially work to a framework of diversity. So what we want to create is a diverse environment. That means a mix between new and returners, domestic and international, mix of genders, all of that sort of stuff. So within the contract application process, there is prioritization. So what I mean by that is between the returner application process and the new application process, there are different priorities within that, but not really, because there's different application times, right? So applications for returners open next week. Applications for new applicants is later in September. So it would be very difficult to prioritize given the application processes and timings are very different.
Yeah. And then the final question I have is about the contract terms again. So if you wanted to apply for North Tower, which offers both long and standard stay, unsure if they want to go during the mid-year break, I can apply for either and theoretically swap once I finalize my decision without having to do a room swap. It's a bit of a comprehensive question.
You're going to have to run that one by me again.
So this person is looking to apply for North Tower, which offers both long and standard stay, and they're unsure if they want to move off during the mid-semester break. Can they apply for both contract terms and then theoretically swap?
No, you can only apply for one
You can
contract
only apply for
term,
one.
and then you can swap as soon as you've accepted your offer, or you can request to swap. That's totally fine, but you can't apply. You physically within the system, you can't apply for two contract terms.
Yeah, thank you.
Same as you can't apply for two living environments.
And yeah, the process will step you through that. So it probably will be a little bit more clearer when you come to the applications. Jess, do you want to just go to the application slide because we're going to run out of time, but next Wednesday, the 3rd of September, next one. Nope, the computer one. Thank you everyone for asking all your questions. If we haven't answered your question, please feel free to send an email to studentliving@newcastle.edu.au or jump on the website. There is more information on there. This webinar has also been recorded, so I'll publish it online in the coming days, so you can go back to and refer to any of the answers that we provided. But thank you everyone so much for coming along. And yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to pop down to reception as well. We're always happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you, Jess, for answering all the questions. I appreciate it. Have a great afternoon, everyone.